Mr. President, distinguished Commission members, we have carefully studied the report of the Commission. Unfortunately, as earlier, it suffers from bias. We get the impression that the government forces confronting well-armed and trained armies of insurgents and foreign mercenaries have been violating international humanitarian law and human rights law. And this is despite the horrifying crimes against the peaceful population, which has been committed in Syria by terrorists related to Al-Qaeda. Nevertheless, under the burden of facts, the Commission was forced, albeit with great delay, to admit the obvious. The document no longer carries the trumped-up thesis that the scale and intensity of the violations by the government are much higher than those of the opposition. The crimes in Syria against the civilians, terrorist acts, killings of children, rape and kidnapping, killing of religious figures, ethnic cleansing, and the siege of Christian and Shiite enclaves are being pursued, are incompatible with democratic goals. The main threat to Syria has the possibility of combating this has been achieved by the agreement of the 8 in July. Together with the state, further arms are continuing to come into Syria, and not only are foreign mercenaries coming in, the economic sanctions against Damascus are also playing into the hands of the opposition. And as is admitted finally in the report, they have been increasing the poverty of Syrian families which have already been suffering from the burdens of war. The protective attitude toward the extremists of certain governments and media have made it possible for them to increase their terrorism and to carry out suicide bombings as particularly in densely populated areas with ethnic and religious minorities. One can only agree with we cannot agree with the conclusions of the events on Al-Qusayr. These insurgents have hanged priests and killed Christians who were not able to flee through corridors of safety established by the government. The Al-Qusayr terrorists essentially have been covered up in the report. The Commission repeatedly raised the question of access to Syria. We would like to express our deep disappointment at the fact that the experts did not take advantage of two invitations to visit the country, both from the Supreme Mufti of Syria, Mr. Hassouna, and from the government of the Syrian Arab Republic to the Commission of Ricardo del Ponte. Mr. President, in a recent press release, the Commission noted rightly that use of force in Syria, against Syria, will lead to an increase in suffering and will make a political solution more difficult. We need to elaborate a negotiation forum for a settlement, and Russia has called for this since the beginning of the crisis, is gaining recognition around the world. We hope that achievement of the agreement achieved on 13-14 September between Russia and America concerning the putting Syrian chemical weapons under international control will prevent its use in the future and prevent new human rights violations and violations of international human rights law, and will give an impetus to the political process. We would recall that the Syrian government has declared its readiness to cooperate and has backed this up with concrete steps. We await a similar approach from the opposition, which has refused to do so far. Finally, we call upon the Commission to devote particular attention to the fact that its report should be more objective and contribute to achieving peace rather than creation. Thank you.